Have you heard of the not deer? Well, this is a story about the not deer. Welcome to Unexplained Brappenings. This is a true story from Appalachia subreddit. I lived in Waynesboro, VA for about 5 years, less than 10 miles to the BRP North entrance, Skyline Drive South entrance. I used to take bike rides along SD all the time, and I always kept a year-long membership. Only in the day though, just to frame the story. One night, I was having a particularly hard time settling in for bed. A strange smell was emanating from my room, so I decided to start up the bike and ride up to the first outlook on Skyline, only about a mile inside the park. It was about 11 p.m. when I got up there, and pitch black. I killed the bike and immediately got uncomfortable. The stink was unbearable. I'm not a guy that gets spooked by a little brap. Truthfully, I prefer the brap in most situations. You can see people before they see you. The clouds make you practically invisible, unless someone's looking for you. And I find that natural privacy comforting. Not up there though. It was thick, oppressive dark brap. Worse than anything I've experienced outside of a cave, and worse than any moonless night on the Appalachian Trail. I immediately got, it looks like a slur, out big time. There's a brat bear ahead of us. There's nothing up here besides wildlife, I assured myself, internally. I had my .44 Magnum revolver from when I hiked in Pacific, in Bear County and all that jazz tucked into my CCW holster. So I knew I definitely outmatched anything that could be up there, two-legged snakes included. So I sat in the dark, leaning against the bike for a while, and looking at a few lights I could see in the valley below. I managed about 10 minutes before I physically felt the hair raise on the back of my neck. I only did 27 months in Iraq, but I remember that precise feeling. Someone was watching me. Something bad was coming. It was the same sensation I would get before the IDF came in, or the shooting started somewhere nearby. I'm no psychic or whatever, but it's a common thing among vets. With any time under their belt, ask them about it. You can feel the hateful eyes on you. The overlook was a sheer drop. So stinky, so full, so I wasn't concerned about anything popping up in that direction. But the mountainside, thick and untamed, were behind me. I started thinking about methed out dudes brapping in the Appalachian Trail, brat bears and alike. The AT is no stranger to random violence. Still feeling creeped out, I took up a seat on the waist-high stone wall that marked the overlook edge, facing the woods. Again, I can't emphasize how brappy it was. But Gris, you might say, why not turn the bike on and use the lights? At least it'll help you see what's close. True, but the bike is loud, and the last thing I wanted was attention. Plus, the light would just night blind me, so that anything out of view and noise would be obscure and stealthy. This is what is called a brat bear. Let's see what I got on it from that range. Oh wow, a silver, even though I just hit a flesh shot. Oh, left lung, okay. I sat in the dark for another 10 minutes or so, anxiety getting worse and worse. I heard a few things, but nothing outside the ordinary for a night in the woods. So I decided to head home. Like I said, I had a big bore on me. So anything playing games would be a powerful surprise if the games got stupid. Hopping onto my Suzuki, I started up and rode towards the gate. Now, anyone who lives in the country and rides a bike knows that wildlife is crazy active on roads that aren't traveled often at night. Being nighttime, and technically closed, I had to ride around a gate to get in. There were no other vehicles on the road at all. I hadn't seen a single other person since the Winsboro paper. The speed limit was about 30 miles per hour. But I clipped along at measly 15 to keep an eye out for deer and wildlife. I wouldn't do any good to screw myself up in a wreck. The term almost deer is really fitting, but not quite accurate. It was like a deer that someone who had never seen a deer drew, but only after someone else had described it to them. It stood on the left side of the road, mountainside, and I saw the eyes long before my headlight shone it fully. It was big, easily the biggest deer I've ever seen, and the lack of horns at that time in the year suggested that it was a doe. The head was almost bovine in shape, but fixed to a deer's frame. The legs seemed too long in proportion to the body. Think of man-wolf proportions. And the body was extremely barrel-chested. I've always been creeped out by malformed wildlife. This was no exception. Unfortunately, I had to get it to move, or risk passing within a few feet of it. I was not traveling another 30-plus miles up the road in the other direction to leave through another gate in the middle of the night. And I wasn't getting close to it. Dangers of it spooking and running into the side of my cruiser aside, I didn't want to get near it at all. Stopping and putting my feet down about 30 feet away, I tried to frighten it away. I flashed my beams down to low and back to high. Nothing. I revved my engine. Nothing. I honked my horn. Nothing. Resting on the bike with the kickstand, I left it idling and hopped off. I yelled at the thing and it still didn't budge. So I started to the side of the road to grab something to toss near the deer thing, hoping it would spook away. As soon as I crossed into the other lane, it rose up onto its hind legs. I froze, putting my hand on my gun. I wasn't about to get charged by an angry, confused, malformed deer. It took 2 jerky, unnatural steps towards the center of the lane, on 2 legs, and froze again, staring directly at me. It suddenly shook its head wildly like a dog with a toy, then took another short step, then hopped on 2 legs several times until it disappeared into the darkness on the side of the road. It left a cloud of stink around it. I could see the trail, but I was too scared to follow. I stepped back to the bike, mounted it, and kicked up to the kickstand, and turned my lights towards the side of the road. On that side, there was a sheer drop-off about 70 to 80 feet compared to the roadway. And ain't no way that thing's head was just peeking over the edge, looking at me. The drop-off was about 40 to 50 feet, so there's no way it was standing looking at me. I cracked the throttle and beat it out of there. Road wildlife be damned. I never went back on the Skyline Drive at night alone. After that, one time was enough. It can go back to wherever it came from, and I can stay here. That was the story of the BrapDeer. Thank you.